Hey guys, TJ here at Top Tech Cards and Games, where we just got in the new Realm of the Light structure deck for Yu-Gi-Oh! The Realm of the Light deck is a Lightsworn starter deck, and it's going to bring a lot of power into the archetype with a couple new cards. So I'm going to bust one open and talk about the new cards we got and what they do. First card you're going to see on top there is Michael, the new Lightsworn Synchro. He is very, very strong. He's a level 7. You make him with a tuner and a non-tuner light monster. So you can use other tuners like Debris Dragon or anything else. I'm a little bit of a struggler here opening this. He's got 2700 or 2600 attack, 2000 defense. His abilities are, first off, once per turn you can pay 1000 life to target one card on the field and banish it. That's his most powerful effect. It's the one you're going to use the most often. It really handles a lot of problems very easily, especially when you consider how easy it is to make Synchros and Lightsworn now with the other new cards. His other ability is when he is destroyed, you can target any number of your Lightsworn monsters in your graveyard and shuffle them into your deck, and you gain 300 for each one you shuffle in. 300 life points. Not bad. Sometimes you do need to get some of your Lightsworn monsters back in, especially the key ones like Lumina. Gaining life doesn't hurt either. And his final ability is at the end of your turn you mill 3. So just a standard Lightsworn effect. The next card we have is Lightsworn Sanctuary. Lightsworn Sanctuary is a very underwhelming card. Once per turn, it lets you send a Lightsworn monster from your hand to the graveyard, and then you can target one of the other Lightsworn in your grave and add it to your hand. So it's a very underwhelming monster reincarnation type effect for the deck. I mean, the cards you want back from your graveyard are mostly just Judgment Dragon, so you don't care too much about swapping crappy Lightsworn A in your hand for Lightsworn, like good Lightsworn B in your graveyard. But that's alright. Its other effects are each time a card is sent from your deck, a card or cards is sent from your deck to the graveyard, you put a shine counter on it. Then if a Lightsworn card you control will be destroyed by a card effect, you can remove 2 counters from your side of the field instead of killing those Lightsworn. So, again, not a very strong effect. Every time you mill at the end of your turn, you'll get a counter on it. There's another card that gets shine counters, their field spell from way back when, which is also a very underwhelming card. Honestly, this card's not going to have much of an impact. The next new card is Minerva, Lightsworn Maiden. Her effects are when she's summoned, you can add a light dragon from your deck to your hand, whose level is, I want to say, equal to or less. Yeah, less than or equal to the number of different Lightsworn in your graveyard. So if you have 8, you can search a Judgment Dragon. If you have 7, you can search Diablos. And if you had 4, you could search the Light Little Chaos Dragon. Or even 6, you could search Light Pulsar. The main one that's relevant is 8 for Judgment Dragon, and you're rarely going to have 8 names. I don't know if I'm even going to play 8 names in my Lightsworn list. But she does give you the ability of being a level 3 tuner, which is relevant. And when she is milled from your deck, you get to mill an extra card. If I'm reading that correctly. When this card, if this card is sent from the hand or deck, so if you discard from your hand, it does this also. Send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. Yeah. Then when she's in play at the end of the turn, she mills 2 cards. Next new card, and the final new card, is Raiden. Raiden is the biggest addition to the deck, I think. He's a level 4 tuner with a Card Trooper-esque effect. He lets you mill 2 cards during your turn whenever you want. If you hit a Lightsworn, he becomes 1900 attack instead of 17. He's a warrior, so you can search him with Reinforcement of the Army. And at the end of your turn, he also mills 2 cards. Yeah, mills 2 cards. Another thing is you can only use that effect once per turn. So if you have multiple Raidens, I don't believe you can activate them to mill, but hardly relevant. You want him to be a tuner more often than not. Like I said, one of the bigger powers of Michael now is the new tuners making him easy to make. You can just Lumina for a Raiden, mill some cards, and answer any problem on the field while putting a lot of cards into your graveyard. This card also lets you make rank 4s easier since he's level 4. He's Reinforcement of the Army-able. He lets you make Stardust, Colossal, everything else you could possibly need. Just having easy access to versatile tuners gives the deck a lot of power. Onto the reprints from the starter deck. We have Alexandria Dragon. Very boring card, just a 2000 vanilla. Judgment Dragon. Necessary card for the Lightsworn deck. Dragoneth. It's a Lightsworn monster. Not a very good one, but it is one. Celestia. Celestia is pretty powerful in an actual Lightsworn deck. Not so much in the Lightsworn roller decks people are playing anymore. But, you know, being able to destroy 2 cards, it's a very strong Monarch type ability, especially if you do something like Foolish Burial Wolf, so you have a free summon. 2 Janes. Jane's a very underrated card, actually. 2100 is pretty big. It answers a lot of problems, like it kills Yugioh armor and stuff like that. It only mills 2 cards, but still a very strong Lightsworn monster. 2 Lilas. This is good because Lila is one of the best Lightsworn other than Lumina. So being able to kill back row is very necessary for this deck since you want to grind out your opponent, drop Judgment Dragon, or even drop Michael. 1 Garroth. Garroth is sort of a draw engine for the deck in his own way. When you mill Lightsworn, you get to draw more cards, so that's another great addition. Then we have Wolf and Aaron. Wolf is special summon he's milled, so it's good that there's not too many Wolves in here. I would hate for newer players to pick up the starter deck and just get irritated drawing Wolf all the time. And Aaron, again, another toolbox effect for Lightsworn. Cool thing about Lightsworn is how many of their cards you can play like one of just for their unique effects, like Aaron, Jane, Garroth. Because you can always recur them with Lumina, and since your graveyard acts as a second hand, it's much easier to get to the cards with how much milling you'll be doing. Lumina is the zombie master of the deck if you're not familiar with it. Again, I think one of the biggest increases to power of the deck comes from being able to go Lumina, special summon Raiden, make Michael, putting so many more cards into your graveyard. Another one of that has a neat effect you can toolbox for with Lumina is Arcus, making it so your other Lightsworn can't be targeted, as well as preventing your opponent from targeting their own Lightsworn cards, which can be very relevant in shutting off their Luminas. It's also important to remember that it shuts off your Luminas. Shire. Shire has a little application I'll talk about in another video with Debris Dragon, but that's about it. 2 Raikou. Raikou was a very good Lightsworn. It was the best Lightsworn monster, really, for a long time, but sets are so slow and underpowered right now. He's lost a lot of traction. Honest, very strong in a deck of all light monsters, keeping them alive through battle. Late Ray Diablos. Diablos is a dragon you can special summon if you have 4 or more lights with different names in your graveyard. 5 or more, actually, I believe. 4 is JD. Yeah, 5 or more. And he clears out back rows, just gives the deck a little more explosiveness. Then we have Late Ray Daedalus, Violon Prisma, Fabled Raven, Blackwing Cerberus, Zephyros. Zephyros is a cool card that does a lot when he's milled, but not much when he's not. And Necrogarden is our last monster. One of the things I'm very happy about with the starter deck is if you're interested in getting into Yu-Gi-Oh! Or getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh! A fairly cheap deck you can build is literally just buying through these starter decks and then getting some cheap synchros for your extra deck, cheap synchros and exceeds. So, I mean, you have Necrogarden in here. You'll have 3 if you get a set of the deck. You'll have your 3 Judgments, your set of Luminas, your set of Lilas. You can build a very, very solid budget deck just out of 3 starter decks. You'll be very short on your extra since you'll only have 3 Michaels, but it's definitely a local caliber deck. For our spells, we have 2 Realm of Light. Card's kind of poopy. Not really going to talk about it. Solar Recharge and Charge of the Light Brigade. The key engine of the deck, Recharge rather, is another card you'll have 3 of if you buy a whole set of starters, which is very, very helpful. Excuse me. Being able to draw 2 cards and mill 2 cards lets you see so much of your deck for such a low cost. And then Charge is a very necessary card for the deck. It is limited, but it's good that you get one. Then you have Monster Reincarnation and Foolish Burial. Reincarnation is great to get back Judgment Dragons, and Foolish is another good card that included since it lets you dump Wolf to special it or dump Necrogarden. On the traps, we have Glorious Illusion, Lightsworn Barrier, and Vanquishing Light. These are all Lightsworn specific traps. This is a Call of the Haunted. This is like a Black Horn, or Horn of Heaven rather, a regular one. And I don't know what this card does. When a Lightsworn monster you control is targeted for an attack, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard, then target the attacking monster and negate that attack. So, not a very strong card either, but that's alright. Then we have Beckoning Light. It's a bigger Monster Incarnation, get back more JDs and Daedaluses. Seal Successor and Breakthrough Skill. Breakthrough Skill is a really good reprint. It justifies the price of the deck if all you need is the new cards and Breakthrough Skill on their own, really. Like I said, 3 of these starter decks you can make a very strong deck since you'll have full sets of a lot of the necessary cards. And you'll be able to pick up some cheap synchros and exceeds fairly easily. You can get, you know, like an Angnier, a Stardust Dragon, some stuff like that for a couple bucks each. So not too much an investment. You can easily make a local level competitive deck at least for 40 or 50 bucks, which I know isn't like $10 or something ridiculously cheap, but if you wanted to compete on a reasonable level, this is a great way to get back into the game. So that's it for the starter unboxing and going through it. I'm going to talk about Lightsworns and competitive play a little more in another video, so stay tuned for that. Thanks, guys.